It starts with a sound most people barely notice, a soft hum from the refrigerator, the whisper of early morning darkness pressing against the kitchen windows, the steady rhythm of your own breath as you try to center yourself. It's Thanksgiving morning, and the house is still asleep. The world outside feels far away, wrapped in that pale blue quiet that only exists before sunrise. But inside your chest, the day has already begun racing forward without you. You stand in the kitchen, one hand gripping the cold handle of a roasting pan, the other steadying a turkey that seems heavier than the year before. Maybe it's not the bird that's heavier. Maybe it's the weight of everything this day asks of you. There's a moment of breath, a hesitation where sadness flickers through your ribs, the kind that whispers, "Here we go again." The oven clicks to life, its heat blooming like a sigh, and you shift your attention to the mountain of potatoes waiting for you. The peeler scrapes in sharp, familiar strokes. With each pass, your mind runs through the catalog of tasks still untouched. Decor that needs placing, side dishes that need prepping. A conversation you'll have to navigate carefully with a relative who always feels 3 questions too intrusive. The hope that your mother won't critique the stuffing again. A prayer that your partner will notice what needs doing without being told. There is a strange comfort in the routine, a faint happiness hidden inside the chaos. You love your family. You love the smell of cinnamon pies cooling on the counter, the sound of kids laughing down the hallway, the way your home feels full, almost glowing on holidays. That joy is real. It's warm. It's part of why you try so hard. But joy begins to tangle with frustration as the minutes pass. The kind of frustration that carries heat, like stone warming in the sun. When footsteps finally echo from the living room, you half turn, expecting help, or at least acknowledgement. Instead, you see him, coffee in hand, wrapped in the soft glow of the television screen showing the parade. He offers a lazy smile, unaware that your hands are trembling slightly from exertion. "You're up early," he says, as if the magic of this day manifests on its own. There's no malice in his voice, but anger rises anyway. Quiet, tight, not from hostility, but from exhaustion. You want to ask him if he notices the simmering pots, the full sink, the timer on your phone already counting down the next task. You want him to see the invisible web of anticipation and planning spread across the entire house. But words catch in your throat. Disappointment settles like dust in the space between you. As he turns back to the parade, you catch the reflection of yourself in the oven door. Hair tied back, apron slightly crooked, eyes carrying that familiar mixture of determination and weariness. It's a face every woman knows, a face that holds years of being the maker of memories, the keeper of harmony, the quiet architect of holiday magic. The timer on the stove dings, breaking the moment. You rinse your hands, shaking off the sting of resignation. The day presses forward and you move with it, because stopping feels impossible. Someone has to make sure everything holds together. Someone has to care enough to try. As you chop onions, the burn in your eyes merges with a sudden swell of emotion, you're not even sure which one. Sadness? Anger? Or that tender slice of hope that maybe, this year, it will feel different. That someone will notice the effort not as obligation, but as love. The kind of recognition that doesn't need applause, just awareness. The hope is bittersweet, like the first bite of cranberry sauce tart, surprising, real. A vibration against the counter interrupts your thoughts. A text. Your nephew's name flashes, followed by, "Hey, bringing my new girlfriend. She's vegetarian." The message is innocent enough, but your stomach tightens. Another dish. Another adjustment. Another shift in a plan you've been balancing in your head for days. The surprise hits first, sharp, immediate. Then frustration crashes behind it like a wave breaking too fast. You close your eyes for a moment, inhaling slowly. The kitchen smells like butter and spices. The air is warm. You let the breath settle somewhere low in your chest, grounding yourself before your thoughts scatter like leaves in a gust of wind. A small voice tugs at your sleeve. Your child, bright-eyed and eager, holding a spoon dripping with brownie batter. "Can I lick it now?" they ask, and despite everything, despite the fatigue, the mess, the invisible weight, you smile. A real smile, soft and unguarded. Joy bubbles up, uncomplicated and sincere. You hand them the spoon, watching their face light up like it carries its own little sun. That moment lingers a little longer than it should, a fragment of sweetness in the middle of a day that always demands more than you have to give. You soak it in, letting it melt the edges of your frustration. But only for a moment, because the oven beeps again and the world rushes back, loud and insistent. You move around the kitchen with practiced choreography. Stir, check, season, adjust. Every action precise. You are conductor, caretaker, planner, peacekeeper. And underneath all of that, you are a human being who feels everything at once. Hope, dread, love, resentment, tenderness, fatigue. The turkey crackles softly in the heat, and for a brief second you pause, listening. There's something almost poetic about it, the way a holiday can be both beautiful and brutal. How one day can hold so much emotion layered on top of itself. You wonder, not for the first time, why this work falls so heavily on your shoulders. Why so few notice the architecture of care you build behind the scenes. You stand there, hand resting against the countertop, feeling the gravity of the day settle once again. The house will wake soon. The noise will grow. The questions, the laughter, the pressure, they'll all arrive in a rush. But in this moment, before everything unfolds, you allow yourself to acknowledge a truth you've tried to ignore. The holiday may belong to everyone, but the labor of holding it together has always belonged to you. And deep down, a quiet realization forms, one that stirs both grief and courage. Something has to change. There's a strange rhythm to the morning as the house slowly wakes, a rhythm you've learned to anticipate long before anyone else notices it. A door shuts upstairs, a faucet squeaks, a distant yawn followed by the thud of feet making their way down the hallway. The day that began in silence is starting to swell with life, and you can feel every shift in the atmosphere the way sailors feel a change in the wind. You look around the kitchen, taking in the counters littered with mixing bowls, vegetable scraps, spice jars left open in the rush of multitasking. It's a mess, yes, but it's your mess. A constellation of effort stretching across every inch of the room. You wipe your hands on a towel, preparing yourself for the tidal wave of needs that will follow. It always comes. Your partner wanders in, stretching like someone who's just stepped out of a spa rather than a warm bed. He glances at the oven, then at the organized chaos surrounding it, and chuckles under his breath. "Looks like you've been busy," he says lightly, as if the mountain of work were an optional craft project you did for fun. He means no harm, and the innocence in his tone should soften something inside you. Instead, anger flares quietly, a small, sharp heat behind your ribs. It's not the kind of anger that yells. It's the kind that sits down at the table with folded arms, refusing to leave. The kind that grows because there's nowhere for it to go. He kisses your cheek, still oblivious, and reaches for the coffee pot you already filled for him without thinking. It's the ease with which he moves that gets you. The way he can simply be, drifting through the holiday like a guest at his own event. For a second, a thought passes through your mind. What it must feel like to experience Thanksgiving the way he does, without the invisible checklist running non-stop behind your eyes. A child's laughter spills from the living room, high and bright enough to cut through the tension twisting inside your chest. Joy rises again, surprising in its gentleness. There is something undeniably beautiful about the sound of a home waking up. It reminds you why you try so hard, why you endure the pressure year after year, why you care enough to shoulder everything most people never even see. But joy doesn't erase the fatigue. It only sits beside it, trying its best to glow through the cracks. Your mother arrives shortly after, letting herself in as she always does. The door swings open, carrying in a swirl of cold air and the familiar scent of her perfume. She takes one look at the kitchen and gasps, not in horror, but in that way mothers do when they expect perfection without saying so. Her eyebrows lift by a fraction, barely noticeable, but noticeable enough. "I see you're running behind," she murmurs, though nothing in the room implies such a thing. You want to answer something clever, something bold, something that captures years of unspoken pressure, but the words dissolve before they reach your tongue. Instead, you smile. The polite, restrained smile women inherit like a family heirloom. A tiny knot of sadness forms in your stomach, the kind that comes from realizing how deeply these expectations run, how they've been passed from mother to daughter like recipes. Maybe she learned it from her mother. Maybe her mother learned it from hers. It's a lineage carved into silence. She begins fussing with the tablecloth, smoothing it with quick, decisive movements, as if the fabric had offended her. You stand there watching her, suddenly caught between guilt and resistance. Part of you wants her approval. Part of you is tired of wanting it. The front door swings open again. More relatives, more voices rising into the air like birds startled from trees. Coats are hung on chairs. Gifts pile up on the counter. Someone's perfume mixes with the smell of rosemary and butter, creating a scent so crowded it almost overwhelms you. There's a hint of disgust that snakes up your throat, not at the people themselves, but at how quickly your home transforms from sanctuary to stage. Everyone bursts into the kitchen with questions. Where do you want the drinks? Did you remember gluten-free rolls? Do you have foil? Is the turkey almost done? Should I bring this dish inside or leave it in the car? They don't mean to bombard you, yet every question feels like another weight dropped onto your shoulders. You try to answer calmly, but your voice grows thinner with each response, stretched like a rubber band nearing its limit. There comes a moment, small, fleeting, but powerful, where fear slips into your lungs. Not fear of failure, but fear of disappearing. Fear that you are becoming the background scenery of your own life, fading into the role of facilitator, organizer, fixer. Fear that if you stopped moving, stopped anticipating, stopped carrying the emotional temperature of every room, everything might collapse. And worse, no one would know why. A cousin rushes in late, coat still draped over one arm, cheeks flushed from the cold. She hugs you tightly, breathless and grateful, telling you how excited she is for dinner. She doesn't see the exhaustion behind your smile. She doesn't see the hours you've already poured into the day. She only sees the warmth she expects. It's not her fault. It's just the way the world has always worked. You stir the gravy, inhaling the steam rising from the pot. Something in the simplicity of that motion soothes you for a heartbeat. There's beauty in feeding people. Beauty in tradition. Beauty in the rituals that shape families and memories. You hold on to that beauty like a rope, letting it steady you in the whirlwind. But through the noise and the warmth and the bustle, something sharper begins to form inside you. A realization that feels both terrifying and liberating. The imbalance in this holiday, this quiet, unacknowledged disparity, has nothing to do with laziness or intention. It's older than that, deeper. woven into routines so familiar no one questions them. A system everyone participates in without realizing. A choreography you never auditioned for, but somehow became lead dancer in. You glance around the room, at your partner laughing with relatives, at your mother arranging napkins with military precision, at the kids chasing each other down the hallway, and the truth settles into place, clear and undeniable. You are holding up more than a meal. You are holding up the entire emotional architecture of the day. And the most painful part isn't that others don't see it. The painful part is how normal it has become for you not to expect them to. There's a peculiar shift in the air once the dishes begin traveling from kitchen to dining room. A shift you've always felt, but never quite named. Conversations grow louder. Silverware clinks. Chairs scrape lightly against the floor. It's the sound of a holiday gathering finding its full shape. From the outside, everything appears warm and effortless, a picture you could capture and frame. But inside your chest, the storm that's been quietly building all morning stirs again. The platters are carried out one by one, mashed potatoes whipped until soft, greens tossed in lemon, stuffing crisped at the edges, rolls still steaming. People reach for the food with practiced ease, their faces lighting up as they inhale the familiar scents. Compliments float across the table like confetti. "This looks amazing. I don't know how you do it. You've outdone yourself again." There is joy in hearing it, even pride, but the joy has a hollow center. You nod, you smile, you murmur your thanks. Still, somewhere deeper, a thought flickers. You don't know how I did it because you've never had to look. Your partner raises his glass to toast, and everyone falls into a hush. He thanks the family for being together, for showing up, for love. When he mentions the meal, people clap lightly, tapping the table, appreciative. You feel your cheeks warm. Gratitude should be enough, shouldn't it? Yet there's something missing, something quieter than applause, something you've never received but always longed for. Recognition not just of the visible work, but of the mental scaffolding holding everything up. As the plates pass around, your hands finally still. The chair supports you like a small miracle. For a moment, relief washes through you, light and almost sweet. You listen to the hum of conversation swirling around the table. Relatives joking, kids giggling in bursts. Someone recounting a travel story louder than necessary. The room is alive, full of the kind of energy that holidays promise, but the calm is fragile. Your mother leans in to correct the placement of the salt shaker, nudging it slightly to the left. An aunt asks why you didn't prepare the cranberry sauce the way she does, then laughs as if it's harmless. A cousin loudly announces she's dieting and scoops barely a spoonful of the potato dish you spent an hour perfecting. A child drops a fork, sending a metallic clatter across the floor, and you instinctively flinch. Little things, tiny things, things that shouldn't matter. But they prick at you anyway, sharp and relentless. You catch your partner's eye across the table. He's laughing at something his brother said, shoulders relaxed, expression open. Something inside you tightens, not because he's doing anything wrong, but because he's doing exactly what the world taught him to do. Show up, sit down, enjoy. Meanwhile, you navigate every emotional current flowing through the room, noticing who seems tense, who needs redirecting, who's about to bring up a topic that could ignite conflict. You feel responsible for all of it. Sadness pools low in your stomach. It's the kind that forms when you realize you've been carrying a weight so long it no longer feels optional, only inevitable. Conversation shifts around you, bending toward family politics. Someone mentions who hosted last year, who didn't show up, Who brought the wrong pie? The mood thickens subtly. You sense the rising tension like an animal sensing weather. Fear nudges your heartbeat faster, not because anything catastrophic is happening, but because you know how delicate holidays can be. A single offhand comment can tilt the balance of the entire room. You jump in gently, guiding the conversation back towards safer waters. A joke here, a question there, weaving social threads with the skill of someone who's done it for years. People laugh again. The air loosens, but you feel the cost of that invisible labor. Another small withdrawal from an emotional account no one else even knows you manage. The meal progresses, and beneath the warmth, frustration simmers quietly, like a pot left on low heat. You think about the mornings leading up to today, planning the menu, coordinating ingredients, checking schedules, calculating timing, remembering preferences, predicting needs. No one sees the effort because it exists in thoughts, in anticipation, in silence. Yet its weight feels as real as the turkey you lifted this morning. As dessert reaches the table, a strange combination of anger and guilt rises like unexpected smoke. You shouldn't resent anyone. You chose to host. You love your family. You love the food, the ritual, the laughter. But anger isn't asking for permission. It arrives when something inside you knows the truth before you admit it. The truth is simple. You are tired. Not just tired from cooking, but tired from carrying the emotional temperature of an entire holiday without anyone realizing you're the one keeping everything from cracking. A relative compliments the pie, and joy flickers again, small and genuine. You cling to it for a moment, letting it warm the edges of your frustration. But the joy fades quickly when someone asks where the whipped cream is a bowl you forgot because you were too busy keeping the peace. You get up, apologizing automatically. The request wasn't unreasonable, yet it stings. The sting comes from how reflexively you accepted responsibility, how quickly you stood to fix something instead of letting someone else handle it. Disgust coils faintly in your chest, not toward them, but toward the way you've been conditioned to respond, the way you shrink your needs to elevate everyone else's comfort. When you return to the table, placing the whipped cream down gently, you notice a moment that stops you cold. Your partner doesn't look up. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't even see you. He's too busy laughing, immersed in a story you're not part of. And just like that, something settles heavily in your chest, pulling at the threads holding you together. If the holiday is a performance, you are both actor and backstage crew. Everyone else gets to be the audience. The realization lands with a force that makes your breath hitch. Not dramatic, not explosive. Quiet, almost tender, yet piercing, a truth so sharp it reshapes the room around you. You're not upset because you want praise. You're upset because you want presence. You want partnership. You want the invisible parts of you to be seen with the same clarity as the dishes on the table. The laughter around you continues, bright and oblivious. People reach for second servings. Glasses clink. A child crawls under the table and bumps your knee. Life goes on, loud and warm and messy. But somewhere inside, a line you didn't know existed begins to draw itself. A line between what you've accepted and what you can no longer ignore. Something is shifting, not in the room, but in you. When the meal ends, the atmosphere changes the way light shifts after sunset. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, but completely. The dining room settles into a drowsy warmth, chairs pushed back slightly as people rest their hands on full stomachs, laughter drifting through pockets of conversation. Someone suggests board games, someone else reaches for another roll. The kids race down the hallway again, leaving echoes like falling marbles. It should feel peaceful. It should feel like the satisfying exhale after a long day of giving. but instead, a heaviness settles behind your ribs, pulsing quietly like a bruise you keep pressing just to check if it still hurts. You gather plates from the table automatically, your hands moving through motions they know too well. A few relatives murmur, "Oh, let me help," yet remain firmly in their seats, their words floating into the air with no intention behind them. It's a script they've learned. You're familiar with this script too, so familiar that part of you no longer expects anything different. In the kitchen, the counter is a battlefield, crumbs everywhere, utensils abandoned in odd places, juice from the carving board spreading unnervingly close to the edge. The sight brings a flicker of disgust, not at the mess itself, but at the way the weight of it all funnels back to you without question, like water drawn to the lowest point. You turn on the faucet, and hot water billows in clouds, fogging the edge of your vision for a moment. Your hands slip into the warmth, and it almost feels soothing. Almost. Then a stack of plates clatters as someone drops them beside you. Not gently, not carefully, just placing them in your orbit the way you might place bags near a trash can. Your partner's voice appears behind you. "We'll be in the living room," he calls casually, as if announcing something helpful, as if you were part of that we. The door frame swallows him before you can respond. You stare at the backsplash, watching a droplet of water slide down the tile. Something cold slides with it inside your chest. A relative pokes her head into the kitchen a minute later. "You're such a natural hostess," she says brightly. "I wish I had your energy." It's meant as a compliment, but the words fall with the weight of a stone. Energy? If only she knew how bone-deep the exhaustion feels, how it threads through your muscles like wires pulled too tight. You manage a soft smile, the practiced kind that fits neatly over disappointment, and she disappears before you can find a polite way to say you don't want to be a natural hostess anymore. The sink fills. Your hands move. The clinking grows rhythmic. But your mind drifts away from the kitchen entirely. It drifts to every holiday before this one, every moment you've been the quiet force keeping everything from fracturing. Every year you told yourself the exhaustion was normal. Every hope that someone would notice, unprompted. Every time you offered understanding so freely and received so little of it in return. A laugh erupts from the living room, your partner's voice unmistakable. Something sharp curls through your stomach, something close to anger but edged with sadness. It's the sadness of being surrounded by people, yet feeling entirely alone. The sadness of realizing how you've been woven into a role without ever agreeing to it. You rinse a glass. Your reflection appears in its curved edged, distorted, stretched, a version of you unrecognizable. The sight brings a flicker of fear. Not fear of the moment, but fear of the pattern. Fear of who you become when your needs are always the last consideration on a list no one else even knows exists. The sound of footsteps pulls you back. A child barefoot, clutching a toy, peers up at you with wide eyes. "Are you done yet?" they ask. Not impatiently, but with innocent hope. The question softens something inside you. Joy, small and fragile, blooms like a match in the dark. You bend down, brush a hand through their hair, and tell them you'll be out soon. As they run off, the warmth from that moment lingers, but only briefly. The silence returns, heavy as wet cloth. The kitchen feels colder now, as if the day has finally taken its toll on the walls, too. A plate slips from your soapy fingers and hits the counter with a sharp clang. The sound startles you more than it should, sending a ripple of surprise through your body. You grip the edge of the sink, steadying yourself, realizing for the first time how tightly you've been holding everything together. Your voice, your energy, your frustration, your tears. You close your eyes. The hum of the refrigerator, the muted chatter from the living room, the soft swish of water around your wrists, it all blends into a melody you've known too long. A melody that plays every holiday, every celebration, every moment you're expected to be the backbone, the glue, the invisible force. You open your eyes slowly, and something inside you shifts. Not anger, not bitterness, something quieter. Something that feels like a boundary forming from the inside out. Your partner appears again, leaning against the doorway. He asks if you've seen the remote. The remote. He doesn't notice the towering stack of dishes. He doesn't see the tension in your shoulders. He doesn't hear the exhaustion in your breath. He sees you, but not you. Only the version of you who makes things easier for everyone else. It's not malice, it's habit. A habit so deeply etched into both of your lives that breaking it feels like stepping into cold water. You answer him softly. He shrugs and wanders off, leaving a trail of laughter behind him, as though the holiday were light, effortless, uncomplicated. Your hands still in the water, the faucet keeps running, whispering against the metal basin. And in that quiet moment, the truth crystallizes, heavy, pure, undeniable. You've been carrying the emotional weight of the day alone, not because you wanted to, not because you're better at it, but because somewhere along the way, the world taught everyone else that you would. Your breath leaves you slowly, as though your body is mourning something you've never allowed yourself to acknowledge. Yet underneath that grief, a new feeling flickers, small, delicate, but bold. A feeling that whispers, "This cannot continue." When the last fork is rinsed and the final bowl is stacked to dry, the house begins to shift again. It doesn't happen in an instant. It's gradual, like snow melting on a windowsill. Slow, quiet, almost shy. Guests gather their coats. Kids are bundled into car seats. Relatives shout their goodbyes from the doorway, promising to text, to visit, to call, even though everyone knows life will sweep those promises into some undefined later. The living room softens into stillness as the crowd thins, leaving behind the ghost of warmth that lingers in emptied spaces. You stand in the hallway, listening to the soft thud of the door closing behind the last guest. Silence blooms, deep and heavy, settling over everything like a blanket someone forgot to fold away. For a moment, you let it wrap around you, not in peace, but in a kind of emotional exhale, one you didn't realize you've been holding all day. Your partner wanders in, stretching his arms above his head. "That was nice," he says, smiling as if the day were a pleasant breeze instead of a storm you weathered alone. The casual ease in his voice slices through you like a paper cut, small but surprisingly sharp. He doesn't mean harm. He doesn't understand the damage. Yet something inside you recoils with a mix of anger and sorrow, a quiet ache beneath the surface of your skin. You nod, but your eyes drift past him, tracing the remnants of the day. A stray napkin on the floor, crumbs on the coffee table, a serving spoon someone abandoned without rinsing. Each tiny detail reminds you of how deeply the day relied on you. Not just your hands, but your mind, your memory, your emotional endurance. He slips onto the couch, remote in hand, already searching for something to watch before bed. The television glow fills the room with pale light, flickering across his relaxed expression. You observe him for a moment, a man comfortable, unworried, untouched by the labor stitched into every corner of the house. A small, surprising wave of disgust rises inside you. Not at him, at the imbalance. At the invisible inheritance passed through generations that told you this was your responsibility alone. You turn away, moving to the kitchen one more time, hoping to find some corner of yourself in the quiet. The sink is empty now, but your body still carries the weight of the day. There's an ache in your shoulders, a pulse behind your temples, a loneliness wrapped around your heartbeat like an unwelcome scarf. A question drifts into your thoughts, soft but persistent. Why does the magic of this day cost you so much more than everyone else? The question hurts. It stings like touching a bruise you've tried to ignore. And with that sting comes fear that this is your life forever if you don't speak. Fear that if you stay silent, each holiday will drain a little more of you, leaving behind a version of yourself you won't recognize. You lean against the counter, pressing your palms into the cool surface. The house is quiet except for the murmur of the TV. It's strange how silence can feel louder than noise. It amplifies your thoughts until they fill every room. Your partner calls out from the living room, asking if you want to watch something. His voice is light, open, hoping you'll join him. And for the first time that day, you truly look at him. Not as the man laughing through the holiday, not as the person oblivious to your exhaustion, but as someone who simply never learned what the world refused to teach him. A tenderness creeps up your throat, mixing with frustration and something almost like grief. You step into the living room and sit beside him. The cushions dip under your weight. He glances at you, unaware of the emotional storm you're trying to hold steady. The room glows softly, and in that pale light, your voice rises. Not loud, not sharp, just honest. Today was too much, you say. He pauses, remote still in hand. Too much how? The question is genuine. The confusion in his eyes is real, and it sparks a small flicker of surprise inside you. You didn't expect him to ask. You didn't expect him to listen. You didn't expect anything at all. So you breathe, and you tell him, not in accusations, not in anger, but in truth. You describe the weight that began before sunrise, the mental lists, the pressure of perfection, the way every detail depended on you. You explain the loneliness of carrying a holiday while others enjoyed it freely. Your voice wavers, but you keep going, driven by a mixture of sadness and courage. He listens, really listens. Slowly, the confusion in his expression dissolves, replaced by something softer, something humbled, something that looks a lot like understanding trying to form itself from scratch. I didn't know, he whispers. 3 small words. They land with both relief and hurt. Relief that he sees it now, hurt that he didn't see it before. You swallow hard, feeling tears push behind your eyes, not from pain, but from the release of letting yourself finally be visible. He reaches for your hand, hesitant, unsure if he has the right to offer comfort after being part of the problem. You don't pull away. There is anger still, thick around the edges of your heart. But there is also love, steady and real. And wrapped inside that love is joy. The quiet kind. The kind that grows when someone chooses to see you rather than simply coexist beside you. He promises to do better. You don't let yourself believe it instantly because hope has betrayed you before. But you let the possibility rest gently in your chest. Change isn't magic. It's not instant. It's a slow, stumbling process that begins with acknowledgement. You sit together in silence for a while, and this silence feels different, warmer, shared. No longer a room divided between the rested and the exhausted. When he squeezes your hand, the gesture carries a simple truth. You are no longer carrying the day alone. A quiet strength rises within you, small but powerful. Not anger, not resentment. A kind of reclamation. A soft rebellion against every expectation that taught you to disappear behind your own effort. You breathe out slowly, feeling the weight shift inside you. The world hasn't changed overnight, but something important has begun. And that beginning feels like standing at the threshold of a life where your labor is not invisible, where your needs are not optional, where your presence is not taken for granted. For the first time all day, you feel something close to peace. Not because everything is resolved, but because you finally allowed yourself to be seen.